He missed her by just 1 minute, but that 1 minute changed his whole life. The evening air smelled of rain and metal as Rehan ran through the station, his shoes slapping against the concrete. In his hand was a small red box, trembling, sweating, holding everything he never said. The train whistle screamed one last time, and before he could reach, the doors closed. Inside that train was Aaliya, the only person who ever made him believe in forever that he stopped, chest burning, eyes fixed on the train pulling away. People brushed past him, voices blurred, the world kept moving. But for him, time simply froze. The ring inside that box was meant for her. The words inside that letter were meant to stop her. But now, all he had was silence and the echo of the train fading into the distance. He sat on the cold bench, staring at the empty tracks, whispering to himself, maybe she was never meant to stay. 2 years earlier, life wasn't this quiet. They met in college, not through destiny, just by accident. She had left her sketchbook behind in the library. Rehan found it, drew a tiny smiley on the last page, and wrote, "If you want this back, buy me a coffee." She did. That coffee turned into long talks about stars, music, and dreams. She painted, he wrote, two souls from different worlds, somehow meeting in the middle. He used to joke that she painted the sky and he gave it words. They weren't perfect, but together they felt complete. Every morning, she waited for him near the college gate, holding her sketchbook. Every night, he waited for a text that always began with, "Guess what I drew today?" And every answer he gave started with, "Guess who I thought about today?" But perfect things don't always last. Aaliya's father got transferred to another city. She tried to stay strong when she told Rehan, but her voice cracked when she said, "Maybe this is where our story ends." He smiled and said, "Stories don't end, they just pause." That night, he sat at his desk, unable to sleep. He picked up a pen and wrote her a letter, his heart in ink. It said everything he couldn't say out loud. How her laughter felt like sunlight. How every goodbye felt heavier than the last. How she was his favorite reason to wake up. He folded the letter, placed it inside the red box, and added a small silver ring. Simple, honest, just like their love. On the box he wrote, "If you ever wear this, it means you didn't just leave, you found your way back." But the next morning, she left before he arrived. By the time he reached the station, she was already gone. The platform that once echoed with her laughter now only echoed his footsteps. He stood there, gripping the box, watching her train disappear into the fog. Years passed. Rehan became a writer, not by choice, but because writing was the only way he knew how to breathe. Every story he wrote had a piece of her hidden inside. His readers said his words felt real. He smiled and thought, that's because they were done on his 30th birthday. A letter arrived. No name, no address, just one line written on the envelope. "From a place where sunsets still remind me of you." Inside was the same silver ring. His breath caught. The handwriting was hers. The note said, "I wore this ring for years, Rehan. I thought I'd moved on, but your stories found me again. I'm at the place where we first met. If it's not too late, come." He didn't think twice. He left everything, his phone, his jacket, his logic, and ran the way he once did years ago, to the old cafe. Time seemed to wait for him. The same cracked walls, the same coffee smell, and there she was, sitting by the window, sketching raindrops again. When she looked up, their eyes met, the same eyes that had once looked at him through tears at the train station. Neither of them moved for a moment. Then she smiled softly and whispered, "You missed the train once. I didn't want to miss you again." He laughed through his tears. Maybe trains don't wait, but sometimes love does. She took out the red box from her bag. The same box, edges worn, paper faded. She placed it in his hands and said, "You never gave this to me, but I kept it safe anyway." He opened it. Inside was his old letter unfolded. The ink was smudged, but the words still spoke. She looked at him, eyes shining, and said, "You wrote that stories never end. You were right." Rain began to fall outside. She held out her hand, raindrops glistening against her ring. He held her other hand, and for the first time, neither of them had to run. The cafe was silent except for the rain tapping softly against the glass, like the sound of two hearts finally finding the same rhythm again. He looked at her and said, "You know, maybe that train never waited because destiny already knew we'd meet again." She smiled, leaned her head against his shoulder, and whispered, "Then let's never be late again." Outside, the city kept moving. People came and went, trains arrived and departed. But for Rehan and Aaliya, time had stopped, exactly where it was meant to. And sometimes that's all love really is. Not about catching the train, not about perfect timing, but about finding your way back, no matter how long it takes. If you've ever loved someone you couldn't reach in time, leave in the comments. Follow at Life in Stories for more real emotions turned into words.